What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today we got some iRacing GT3 challenge from Silverstone. We got a 30-minute race here, but unlike usual, I'm not commentating this one live because I just didn't feel like it. But you will not be disappointed, because if I'm posting a race I didn't commentate live, that means the race itself was pretty dang good, which, as you can see there on screen in the bottom right hand corner, I was on pole position by 1,000th of a second. That's pretty dang close. So you can see the grid there in general is really close, and this race itself is close. Spoiler alert here. I don't think at any point in this race I had more than a 8 or 9 tenths of a second lead, and if I did have a larger lead, it wasn't for very long. If you are a fan of pressure-packed races, you're gonna like this one. Trust me, it is intense. So as usual with these videos, actually, this time around, you're going to be seeing exactly what I was seeing. I recorded it live. I just didn't record the commentary, but I'll go ahead and interject as needed. But everything should pretty much be fairly simple. You're going to see a lot of racing, especially as it picks up more towards the halfway point. But these first laps are very important. As usual, you just want to establish a pace and kind of get into the flow of the race and going around in circles and everything like that. So that's what this is. Just kind of figuring out what you got, because usually if I'm up front qualified, I'm kind of a little bit shaky because I'm wondering how in the world am I up here, because I'm not very good at qualifying. But it always kind of keeps you on your toes, wondering what everybody has in terms of pace. But this race actually turned out to be very even on pace between everybody. You know, you're going to see at least a 3-car battle at some point. I do believe there's 4 cars.
But it has to be some of the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
GT3 rage right there, as usual, as required. Yeah, so it's a pretty good race. I'll just go ahead and tell you that one. It will not disappoint. So I'll go ahead and shut up now and until I interject again.
Just let me know if you want to get by, Andy. I'm happy to let you go.
I appreciate it. Let's do it up here past the S's.
Pass left, pass left, pass left.
Thank you.
No worries, you're faster than me.
Oh, good stuff, Larry.
Just cool that.
Did well there.
It's more luck, I think.
Took you 3 corners to get it, but you got it.
So by now it's pretty clear during the race while I was actually running it, it's going to be a close one. There's going to be a lot of defense involved. It's definitely going to be close. At this point, there is no way I can make mistakes. It's got to be as good of a race as I can possibly run. You know, as good as the race as I can expect to run. I'm going to have to reach deep down into the trick bag to go ahead and keep these guys behind me, because Silverstone is a track that is somewhat difficult to pass on, but it is certainly possible to pass on, especially with the draft here. It's very easy to get a good run, and plus I seemingly was running a fairly high wing angle, which meant my straightaway speed was fairly compromised. But right now it's looking like a very fun race, and it was a fun race. I was definitely sweating it out. Yeah. It's intense. And I love it.
Thanks, man.
No problem. I wish the last guy had just gone by like that.
And now I've noticed the conga line forming on my exhaust pipes as we have a four-way pack, essentially. That guy in 4th position actually, if I'm not mistaken, won the previous time slot race, as me and another guy who were battling for the lead for the win on the last couple laps ended up tangling, and in the scuffle he scurried on by along with another guy, and yeah, it is not a very pretty race. There was a lot of contact, there was a lot of red mist and aggro going on there, but anyways, we're about to see a position swap. As you see, James will go ahead and pop out, and then I move to the left actually, just to kind of maybe try and give him a little bit of a draft, because I figure, well, we'll get them side by side going into this corner here, and they'll both go slow. Only it actually turned out that somehow he managed to hold his position on the outside, sets himself up for an inside pass into this corner. Nice and easy. Spectacular driving. Very surprised that he actually managed to pull that one off, because it actually looked like he was a little bit behind going into the corner. But hey, he even agreed, and he is the guy who just got passed, so that's a pretty good move. At this point, I'm figuring, okay, well, I got a new guy on my bumper. We'll see how he races, where he's stronger, where he's, you know, weaker, and how that plays out. You know, every driver is a little bit different. You do tend to get a little bit comfortable with the same guy on your bumper lap after lap, and you begin to realize, oh, hey, this guy isn't going to do anything totally stupid or anything. He's not, you know, one of those guys in the GT3 series most known for, you know, one of those guys who just go for, oh, hey, if you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver. Yeah, that's my excuse for everything, because I'm actually secretly being an idiot, but hey, some Brazilian guy said that, and he was really good, so that gives me free reign to be an idiot. Yeah. God, I hate that comment. Anyways, I honestly do. But on back to the race, as again, there's a car like right on my bumper still, just not going anywhere, not going anywhere at all. Get used to it. Yeah, I'm not gonna fall for this move. perhaps the most costly mistake of the race. My car just did not downshift at all. It just did not want to go into second gear, which meant I overshot the corner a little bit and lost a bit of time because we had actually sort of opened up enough room we could catch our breath, but that quickly evaporated when we entirely missed the corner. Yay, go me.
Horrible bad luck, man.
Left side. Still there. Clear. You've got about 5 laps of fuel left.
Coming to the line, we'll have 2 laps remaining in this race, and it's still anyone's ball game. It's gonna be close, it's gonna be exciting, I can guarantee you that.
Still there. Hold your line. Clear.
Oh hell, I gotta do it at least once. Defend. Or actually not so much. Going to the corner here, I missed the apex there. Back this corner up a little bit. Don't apply the throttle as soon as I can. And now I'm just plotting because I know he is going to be side by side going into the chicane up here. So I leave him just enough room, get it back over to the right, expecting him to stay to the inside. Cut back over. He slides across. I grab second gear. Come out of the corner. He gets a little bit of wheel spin. Can we go around the outside at bridge? Yes. So is that defense or offense? Or... yeah, that's just the type of move that just puts a smile on your face. Well, when you're the guy doing it and getting away with it. But yeah, gets the adrenaline flowing as we're coming to take the white flag. Oh boy, it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. iRacing timing and scoring. Why do you gotta give me one more lap? You're always leaving me one lap short. I want to just end it now, please. Don't screw up, don't screw up, don't screw up, don't screw up, don't screw up. Good. Gonna have to defend once again going into stow, but we've done this before, so we can do it again. No reason to think we can't. He's gonna pop out, go left, because that's his only option. Jockey a little bit to the left, get position. And my car has exploded. Very lucky to not get run over there from behind because my car basically decided to have a massive understeer moment as soon as my left front corner became massively deranged. And you'll see in the replay that what actually accordingly happened to the server versus what you just saw happen didn't seem to match up at all. Which I didn't know it at the time, or I didn't think about it at the time because it's the last freaking lap. And I'm not going to give any extra space that I don't have to. You know, you're going to cut it as close as possible, but I guess the guy that I was racing with there, James, he's either from Australia or New Zealand. Forgive me, I didn't look it up, but you know, so obviously he did have a much larger ping, which I mention that all the time, and people always seem to take exception to it. I'm not saying give the Australian, New Zealand guys, or you know, guys from Asia, you know, more room or anything because they can't drive. I'm just saying it's racing on the line. It happens. Like with a 300 ping, you know, that's 0.3 of a second. 0.3 of a second on a racetrack is a lot. You know, it's just, it just happens. Unfortunately, it happened. You know, it was really minor contact, if you ask me, and you know, he even agreed as we're kind of chit-chatting about it post-race, but really minor contact that in the real world probably results in, you know, damage, yes, but not crippling damage like it did here. But you know, I can only say that, you know, the net code probably just, you know, calculated it a little bit differently, and it just wasn't in my favor, and that caused the car to basically explode, which is basically terrible. And then to miss out on the podium position was just an extra knee to the testicles, basically, after this race. Talk about a plot twist. Talk about a plot twist. But I'm not blaming the other driver for any contact or anything at all. He raced entirely clean. If anything, it's my fault because I did kind of overshoot a little bit. But what the replay shows after the race, what you just saw versus what actually happened, what you actually saw during the race, in my eyes, just totally did not match up at all. And you know, it sounds like from what he was saying regarding a minor contact and nothing more, plus the fact that his car was able to continue on, I don't think he went flying quite like that in actuality. It just ended up being calculated like that, which was unfortunate. Unfortunate end to a great race. So, hope you guys enjoyed. You better have, because it sucked to lose this one. Bye.